following is a GNC podcast production. Welcome to Geek Addicts, a pop culture podcast.
Hello and welcome to Geek Addicts, the pop culture podcast. My name is Matt, and with me is the podcaster formerly known as the Barber Who Games, Bill Barber.
Well, I haven't entirely abandoned that name. I just I don't really use it as a. So no one uses pseudonyms anymore. I've noticed.
Not so much, no. I mean, there's some exceptions, like Thrak.
Yeah, you know, not a lot of people know Thrak's name.
Yeah, I don't.
I know it, but I don't think he knows I know it. So
that's fair.
Well, I'm not going to announce it here in case he wants to keep it secret, but I do know Thrak's name.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, I would hope so. You guys have been running a podcast together for like, what, half a year now?
Yeah, just about. I didn't find out from him, though. Let's just say.
That's kind of funny.
Also, I didn't find out from actually anybody. I unintentionally discovered it.
Oh, well, that'll happen.
Yeah.
So how's your week been?
This week's was not fun. Well, it was somewhat fun. We over on 3DO, we did our what I'd like to call our magnum opus, where we finally covered the infamous Plumbers Don't Wear Ties.
Yeah, I was wondering about that one. I don't really know much about the 3DO, and what I do know, I pretty much know from your podcast. But that is one of the few games that I am aware of and I know exists, even though I know nothing about it.
It is.
I knew it was going to come up eventually, but
it is one of the most fascinating, like, dumpster fires of a game you'll ever experience. Mm-hmm. Calling it a game is generous, but yeah, that was that was the one we had been hyping up for a long time, and when we finally covered it because the definitive edition just came out on all the platforms, so now anybody can experience Plumbers Don't Wear Ties for a low price of $20.
Jesus. Speaking of games that have recently released, I got the new Battlefront Classic Collection on Switch.
I have not heard good things about that collection.
Yeah, I've been hearing some issues with online. I attempted to do a quick match before we did this, but by the time I figured out why the crashes were happening, I didn't have any time to. So I did do a quick match with just like instant action quick match, just with computers, and I liked how much smoother it is compared to the old one. And I will admit it's a little jarring because they changed the controls for when you're using just regular like soldiers, like stormtroopers, battle droids, whatever. They changed the controls to make it more like modern shooters, which makes sense. But because I've been playing Battlefront for so long with the old controls, it's definitely a learning curve.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I saw a lot of reviews on Steam for it that basically all the reviews said buy the original 2005 version. It's on Steam and it's cheaper. So
that's fair.
So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. I wasn't planning on purchasing it because I still have the original PS2 versions, but
yeah, well, I mean, I just the idea of updated, like not necessarily updated graphics, but like smoothed out controls and online access just appealed to me. So that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to get it. Plus, I never actually played the first one. So
true.
I've only ever played the second one.
I think the second one's a better game, but I think the first one had arguably better maps.
That makes sense.
I picked up a few games today and realized video games are very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to GameStop for like the first time in God knows how long. And I was going to go pick up Unicorn Overlord. It's a new game by Vanillaware. They're a very, very, very good studio that makes incredibly quality games. They're usually very out there, though. So I went to go pick up their newest game, and while I was there, I saw they had a copy of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the shelf, and it was sitting there, and I said fuck it and just grabbed it while I was there. Got $70 for that.
Yeah, that's what it's going for on Amazon too. I'm planning on picking it up at some point, but honestly, I'm kind of dragging my heels on it a little bit because I know I'm not going to jump. Well, first of all, I still have to beat the DLC of the first game. I only just barely started it. I'm like maybe an hour into it, so I still need to do that, which is like what, solid 15 hours of gameplay. So
yeah,
there's no huge rush for me. Plus, I'm playing Chrono Trigger, which I'm like 7.5, 8 hours in right now, and
what are you thinking of it?
I'm really enjoying it so far.
Isn't it such a good game?
Yeah, it's such a bizarre concept, but it works so well for it.
One of the best implementations of time travel in a video game.
Yeah, for sure. I'm liking it's definitely a kind of a breath of fresh air not having the random encounters.
I mean, they're still a little random, like
yeah, some of them, but for the most part, you can kind of like skirt around them if you just want to get somewhere.
Yeah, you can to a degree. There's definitely a few cases though where it's kind of like you'll try, but it's like, nah, this is a scripted fight that you have to fight, basically.
Yeah, but no, overall, right now, I've gotten to like the time hub, whatever, and I've explored fairly thoroughly every time period that I have access to right now. And last time I played, I left off when I was about to go into the mountain to find the legendary sword for the hero in the year 600. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm still pretty early on, but I'm enjoying it. And I'm liking that I haven't really had to look up walkthroughs much at all.
No, it's a very, very solid RPG. Arguably, there's a reason why it's so highly acclaimed these days.
I figured as much, but it's one of those things where you can only believe the hype so much until you actually jump into it yourself. So,
Chrono Trigger is definitely one of the ones that I believe fits that bill. In particular, like that was actually the first video game I ever spent over $100 on.
Oh yeah.
When I first got into collecting, that was one of my first flea market trips. I found it for $100 at the time, which arguably is probably a good price these days.
Yeah,
and I bought it, and my copy is so sun damaged, it's not even funny. Like, it's like yellow. It is hilarious, but it works, and I don't care. I've had it forever.
Yeah, I'm not a collector, so I am perfectly comfortable with my digital copy. If I could find a physical copy at a reasonable price for a system that I actually owned, it'd be different. I would definitely go for the physical then, but as it stands, although there is like I have seen something about one of the creators for it. I think he's currently working on the Final Fantasy VII remake or something like that. But basically, like, he was asking fans, like, what kind of remake would you want to see for Chrono Trigger and stuff like that. So people are starting to speculate if, when the FF7 remake trilogy is done, if he's going to try and get the Chrono Trigger remake off the ground. So
we'll see. That's such a fun game. I just wish there was easier ways to play it. Other than the easiest way, I guess, to play it now is it's on Steam. There's a Steam release. But if you don't like playing RPGs on PC, the only other option, well, I guess if you have a Steam Deck, it's different. But the only other option I can think of is, I guess, the Vita version, because the Vita store is still technically open. So
yeah, that's the version I'm playing.
Because even the DS version is absurdly expensive now.
Yeah, if I could get that version, that's probably what I would have gone for. But oh well. Yeah, and
you know what
Okay.
Speaking of insane collecting, I found out Did you know that the PS5 version of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, that is like $100+ game now?
Really?
Yeah. So
I got mine for $40 like 2 months ago.
do you have like the physical like Final Fantasy VII like Intergrade version?
Yeah.
Oh wow, you got lucky then.
But it is technically a UK version. I don't know if that matters.
It does a bit. The UK version is incredibly common.
Okay, fair enough.
The North American version had an extremely low print run. So weird. There was, yeah, it's, I don't really understand it, but yeah, it had a very low print run, and because of that, now that game is like $140, I think.
That's so weird. I feel like people would just buy the UK version if that's the case. I mean,
there's a reason why that's not desirable. I think it has something to do with like the DLC code that came with it doesn't work or something.
There's a way around that.
Yeah,
yeah, you just got to make a profile under a UK zip code and then just download it under that profile and you're good.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to run into issues later on though. But for collectors of games, like I guess that North American version is very sought after.
That's fair.
And I laughed because I picked that up the day it came out at GameStop just randomly for like $40.
Really? I would have thought it would be more expensive first day.
Well, it was technically a re-release.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. But I got another. Where'd it go? Oh, it's over there. Hold on 1 second. I got this today. Well, it came in the mail. Got Destroy Humans 2 remake. Super pumped to start playing that because, well, I played both games a lot when I was a kid, but the second one is definitely the one I played the most. And I was super bummed when I heard it wasn't coming out for Switch. So when I got a PS5, that was one of my priorities. So, and it's only like $20 right now.
Well, I mean, remakes make sense. I mean, especially for a remake of a game that came out years ago. Trying to think if I grabbed anything else recently. Well, I'll think about it. If it pops up, I'll save it for later.
That's fair.
But yeah. So for today's topic, we mentioned in the last episode that we're going to be on kind of a bit of a Dragon Ball marathon for the next few episodes. Mostly just in tribute to Akira Toriyama. And I mean, our podcast logo is a Dragon Ball, in case anyone has noticed. So
yeah.
For this episode, we're going to be covering. We've mentioned it in the past a few times, but it's a one-off manga called Dragon Ball. That Time I Got Reincarnated as Yamcha.
I got my copy right here too.
Nice.
Flip through it as we go. It's short enough.
Yeah. So you probably know better than me. Like, what's the backstory behind this one?
To be honest, I'm not like. From what I understand, the guy who wrote it, Dragon Garo Lee, is I guess he was just doing like little online stuff for the most part, and then I think Shueisha approached him and asked him to do this, which was like a big deal. And a lot, honestly, like I don't know if you've noticed, but he's really, really good at emulating Toriyama's style.
Yeah, no, it was pretty close, which is hilarious because the first couple pages are his style, and it's like a dramatic shift, honestly.
Oh, extremely. But like it's really interesting how he manages to really like cement it. And especially like how like when you look at the first chapter when like he first wakes up as Yamcha, and it's like the old school Dragon Ball style. And then you flip forward a little bit to like Saiyan Saga, Cell Saga stuff. Like he emulates both different like points in time of Toriyama's art very well. Like he doesn't stick to one specific style. He actually like draws it like it's original Dragon Ball. Then at the Z parts, he draws it like it's Z. You know, he does a really good job with that.
I found it very hilarious and kind of I rolled my eyes a bit when the whole reason he ends up reincarnated as Yamcha is because he died falling down the stairs trying to look up a girl's skirt.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's so
of course.
cheesy.
That's like the most like manga thing ever.
For real. But yeah, it was actually like when I first heard about this, like I thought it was just gonna be like a silly fan thing. I didn't know this was an official Shueisha property. So when I heard that they were doing an act, because when it first came out, I read a fan translation of it on the internet of the first chapter, and I thought like that was the only way I was going to be able to read it. Then all of a sudden, I saw that they were dropping a collected volume. I was like, wow, surprising. But
it is a very humorous. So the thing about it that's kind of sad is it is very short.
Yeah.
And
It's
goes
only
by
like 3 chapters and like a bonus at the end.
There's 3 main chapters, then there's like 2 bonus ones towards the end that kind of explain a few things, but for the most part it's all just it's not super important. It's really the main 3 are the meatiest chapters.
Yeah.
And to basically sum it up, it's basically just random Japanese boy dies and gets reincarnated as Yamcha right at the start of Dragon Ball. And then he basically uses his knowledge, like, well, because they make the joke saying, imagine if you got reincarnated as someone like Yamcha, like what would happen?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically he uses all of his knowledge of the series to basically prevent Yamcha from being pathetic.
Yeah. He actually avoids dying throughout the entire like section of the story that's covered in this one volume.
He does, and he ends up going to Namek and training on Namek before Goku goes there, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interestingly, it's kind of hard to explain, like, because it is a very quick story, and it kind of goes by. I'm trying to pick out like the key moments. Like, I know at one point, like that I noticed that was kind of interesting was he tries to he realizes he can like get with Bulma and like actually not be a douche and cheat on her. Mm-hmm. But then he remembers Trunks and he ends up letting it go just because he doesn't want to erase Trunks from the universe.
Yeah, because that would screw up the story, and then any chance he had of surviving would kind of go out the window. Because as soon as you change the course of the story, it kind of changes everything.
Yeah. It's just really funny, like reading through this and just seeing moments where Yamcha's like kicking ass.
Yeah. Like I love the scene right here where like everyone kind of does like the fall take when Goku's talking about his tail at the beginning, and he's just like, "Oh, I forgot people do that." Then he falls backwards.
Yeah, like there's a few like things like where he like kind of like fanboys a little bit on the inside whenever like something happens that he doesn't think about.
But yeah, I think it's kind of cool how like he's all geared up to go to West City and start dating Bulma and all this other stuff, and then he remembers himself dead, and he like, remembers that Yamcha's gonna die in the Saiyan saga, and he's like, well, shit, like I gotta start doing something so that I don't just end up pathetic like Yamcha. So instead of going to West City right at the beginning, he goes with Goku and starts training with Roshi right away, which is pretty cool.
He also apparently did like all of Goku's like training montages. Like he went up to Korin's tower, did all that goofy stuff. Also, the way he gets to Namek is interesting. He finds the spaceship early, which totally isn't going to screw the timeline up at all.
Yeah. But yeah, I do find it kind of odd that it goes from the end of the first arc where Yamcha's like, all right, I'm going to go train with Roshi with you, Goku. And then you turn the page and it's the Saiyan saga and there's the 6 Cybermen.
Yeah.
Like, and he just literally just leapfrogs over everything in original Dragon Ball.
Yeah, which is interesting because you wonder how that would have changed everything.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I love how it kind of like starts out where he's gonna fight the Cybermen, and like it kind of starts out the same way, and then all 6 of them explode on him, and he's just totally fine. Like,
One of my favorite like mythology gags, mostly just because it's a joke that only will work because of like the fact that this guy knows everything about Dragon Ball. When he's fighting Vegeta, he makes the point at one point of being like, "Hey Vegeta, look over there, it's Beerus the Destroyer."
Yeah,
And
it's
Vegeta
super
like
silly.
legitimately goes, "Huh?" And it just enough time to distract him, which
Yeah,
is a really funny because it's like that is such a reference that like makes no sense at that time of the series.
hmm
But it's funny how they include that into it.
yeah, it's pretty great.
Also, the
Um,
fact that he goes to kill Vegeta when Goku won't, but he ends up not doing it just because he once again is guilted by Trunks.
yeah, which fair. Trunks is a great character. Any true Dragon Ball fan wouldn't want to erase Trunks from the timeline.
So, what did you think of Chiaotzu being evil, just for the fuck of it?
Yeah, just out of nowhere, it's like, oh, there's another person who's reincarnated like you, and you're like the whole time you're thinking like, oh, which one of these people is it? And then it turns out to be the one person who's more pathetic than
I
Yamcha.
know. It's like I turned the page and just saw this image and I was just like, what am I reading now? like where have we gone in this?
Yeah, it's pretty silly. And then yeah, so he goes to Namek, and that's like kind of his whole like way of trying to improve well enough for the Saiyans. So he has the the elder Namek guru awaken his power, and then he trains with Nail for what, like 6 months, something like that. And
Yeah.
I think by the end of it, his power level is like 10,000, which is actually higher than Goku's is when he comes back to Earth.
I'll never understand Dragon Ball power levels. I will never understand.
Well, that's the thing about them is they're only there just to prove that they're unreliable.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, I don't know. It's just silly, and then friggin' Nappa gets taken out like nothing.
Yeah, he does.
Which makes you wonder, huh?
He got taken. I mean, he got taken out like nothing the first time around as well. But
Yeah. But I don't know. It just makes you kind of wonder, like how. Like, I just wish they had spent more time on it. Like, if it didn't necessarily have to be a whole series, but like maybe like a slightly bulkier than normal sized volume with like a regular like 10 to 15 chapter volume.
yeah,
And actually kind of like go into a little bit more, because there's so many things that kind of don't make a whole lot of sense. Because if he was so quick to destroy all the Cybermen and pretty much immediately take out Nappa, then how does Goku show up in time? Because part of that whole thing was like Vegeta and Nappa just kind of sat around and waited for 3 hours for Goku to
yeah.
show up.
Well, the timeline is already broken enough, so Goku just arrived earlier.
That's fair.
We'll use some Toriyama logic here.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to with when it comes to any kind of Dragon Ball. But I love his. Huh?
There's just something funny about Yamcha holding up Goku after a fight. Like,
Yeah, right.
it's like this is just so not right, but like you just kind of accept it because it is what it is.
For real. And I love that while they're like having the final fight with Vegeta in the Saiyan arc, Yamcha's fighting them and stuff. And Vegeta's just doing his usual like villain shit, and Yamcha's like, "I won't let you take Bulma," and he's like, "Who the fuck are you talking about?"
I know.
I don't even know who that is.
This reminds me a lot of like one of Masako X's weird like what if things, but like it actually got made into a thing.
It easily could be, honestly, and that's why I kind of feel like they definitely could have made it longer, like a little bit more fleshed out. Like even if it just didn't flesh out the parts that we got and just kind of added a little bit more from the story that we didn't see any of like the Namek arc and Frieza and stuff. We didn't see anything from original Dragon Ball except for the scene where he realizes he's Yamcha.
Yeah.
So like we kind of miss out. We pretty much only see bits of the Saiyan arc and a little bit of the Cell arc, which we don't even really see the Cell arc. We just see Yamcha and Chaozu facing off.
Yeah, like they're basically the Cell arc is happening in the background, and then Chiatsu and Yamcha are just having this like spat somewhere else.
Yeah.
Which is really hilarious because you're seeing Yamcha, overpowered Yamcha, and like sadistic Chiatsu, which is just hilarious in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and how you mentioned before about how he was like, "Oh, it's Beerus the Destroyer behind you," or whatever. Like the thing that made him think of that in the first place was because he was like, "Oh, if only I could show him that scene from Battle of the Gods of the bingo dance."
Oh yeah. I thought it was great too. The reveal at the end that the entire thing is literally just Beerus and Choppa just bullshitting the whole reason this happened.
Just having like a little contest. Like, I bet my Dragon Ball Weeb is better than your Dragon Ball Weeb.
They're literally playing a game called the Reincarnation game, which is just hilarious.
For real.
And then when they're done, they just send them back.
For real. Which is just goofy. I love the little ending scene too. But
yeah. Oh yeah, he uses his Yamcha powers to knock up the girl's skirt. Yeah, they had to conclude that plot trend.
And I also love so first of all, there's like the inside cover illustrations on either side, where you got the one of Yamcha beating up Drum, and you got the one of him beating up Birder.
Yes,
so, which is kind of cool because it gives you like a little bit of insight on those things. But during like the in between the chapters, there's also like you see one little scene of him fighting the invisible guy, and he's like he knows that Bulma's boobs are about to get pulled out, so he's just kind of like standing there waiting.
Yeah.
And then the Saiyan one is just kind of him waiting with Yajirobe's sword, because apparently he's going to cut the sword, the tail off.
Yes.
Which is kind of a bummer, because that's like the one thing Yajirobe got to do.
Yeah, before he just became Korn's buddy.
Yeah, Bean Daddy.
And then the last one is he's facing off against Dr. Giro.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He had to watch out for his hands.
The extra story I thought was pretty funny. Where Yamcha like decides to like he's trying to confess to Bulma. So he decides to change his appearance, and he like gets the short hair and like suit look that he has at one point.
Yeah.
And he ends up stopping like a robbery and like ends up like saving a Chi-Chi knockoff, basically.
Yeah, she does kind of look like a teenage Chi-Chi.
Yeah, somewhat. It's mostly just because Toriyama's female characters all kind of look the same, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But then he ends up once again just not doing anything because of Trunks. But he does fight Vegeta and gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, which is pretty funny.
It's like the one time he does in this story.
I love how he's like when he's on his way to go and like confess to Bulma, or he wanted to ask like relationship advice, and he's like going through his head. He's like, well, Goku doesn't do that. Gohan's a kid. Piccolo also doesn't do that. It's like, who the fuck am I supposed to talk to? Like, and he eventually settles on Krillin, who at this point has no dating experience whatsoever.
Yeah, I like his reasoning is Goku skipped the dating phase and got married right away. Gohan is a great guy, but he's still a kid. I remember Piccolo saying, "I have no idea in regards to dating, so not him."
It's too funny.
Tien is too stoic.
Yeah.
Yeah, just basically. I like how
He's like, should I confide in the turtle? Should I talk to the turtle about this?
I mean, for all we know, Turtle knows best. Like he probably has the best dating advice out of anybody.
I think it's established that he does have children.
I mean, he's been around for so long.
Yeah, he's what 999 years old.
Something like that.
Because I think there's an episode where they're celebrating his 1000th birthday.
Yeah, I love how he does really like. He does actually consider the turtle though, which is great.
Hmm.
All in the end, just to get his ass kicked by Vegeta.
Hmm.
And then the final bonus chapter is literally just Tien and Shatsu shooting the shit after they make up. And then they decide to do the fusion dance. And they basically their entire conclusion to it is let's never do that again.
Yeah, because they're like an abomination.
Yeah. It is something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right here for anyone who wants to see in the video version.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy. And they probably would actually be pretty damn strong too, but and it's funny how they managed to do it because they established like, oh, like the rules of Dragon Ball were not similar height, so we can't fuse. So then they're like, oh yeah, the Dragon Ball Fusions game. Let's get Bulma to make those armbands from that game, and then we could just do it.
Yeah, basically.
There's just like the one shout out to that game that it's ever gotten, which is upsetting because it's a great game. Everyone who's a Dragon Ball fan should play it.
Also, the trend of mangas berating you for not reading the right way.
Yeah. Only in the West though, because I mean, duh, stupid Westerners.
Yeah. I mean, overall, like there isn't really a ton to say. It is a very enjoyable read through the first time, but to me, it's kind of like once you've read it once, you've kind of experienced it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and you can read it super fast. I read it in like a 20-minute, half-hour period.
Yeah, it's a very quick read, mostly because it's mostly recap.
Yeah,
it's just kind of little subtle things changed here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you see this at like your local bookstore, comic shop, like $9, like it's not a bad deal at all.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely smaller than your average volume of manga.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, it's definitely nice to have. You know, I mean, like I said before, when I found out there was going to be a collective volume, I bought it like instantly.
I mean, it's definitely worth the read.
I wish like when this happened and when it actually got a volume, I thought that they were going to have this guy do more of these. I thought we were going to get more of these kinds of like out of the box side stories. And we've yet to get one since this. And this came out in, I want to say 2016, 2017. I want to say something like that. It says he got the job offer in 2016 in the back of the book here. So yeah, it would have come out in like right around that time, 2016, 2017.
It's definitely older too because it's still got the old Shonen Jump logo on there.
Mm-hmm.
So that dates it a little bit.
I mean, it would be nice if we got more of those kinds of stories. It would have been cool, especially since I like his particular style. He emulates Toriyama's artwork very well, to the point where I've actually heard a lot of people say that he should have actually been the person to go under Toriyama's wing as opposed to Toyotaro. Which, I mean, it's neither here nor there. Either way, nobody can like fully copy that art style.
He's got there's a reason why he's one of the most influential artists in manga. Like so many people have copied his style over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, been influenced by it, I should say.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I haven't actually thought about it, but I should look into this guy and see if he's published anything else, because I'd like to see like if he has an original manga. I'd like to see what kind of thing he would do. Be interesting.
While we're at it, I can actually let's consult the Wikipedia machine and see if we can find anything about this guy. So, let's see here. It's actually harder to find this on Wikipedia than I expected.
Is it?
Just because it's kind of a weird name.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
It's got a modern anime title. That's for sure.
and you know what's? I think he might have just come up with this name for this. I mean, the fact that his name is Dragon Garo Lee, like it's very clearly like it's he based that name around Dragon Ball Z. So I'm wondering if he just came up with that name just to have a like pen name attached to this particular project.
Yeah. Let's see here. Um. Hmm. Well, this isn't as
There's not much to see.
so um the top thing that appears is he has a page on the Dragon Ball wiki, so that's already not a great sign.
Yeah,
Um okay, his only work apparently is this.
that's kind of a bummer. I was really hoping he would have more to his name than that, but
So I guess he has some doshinji that he's done, but nothing official.
that's fan manga, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is it
Yeah,
Dragon Ball fan manga or just a bunch of other stuff?
it doesn't list any of it.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, I'd have to do some deep diving to actually find. I'm always worried about that because you never know; it might be a porn thing or something.
Who knows? um, but no, it's definitely a fun read. Hopefully we get more of this kind of thing in the future.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, I don't think about it. It's been almost 10 years. That's weird. Weird to think about.
Yeah.
I think I was still working at Cumberland Farms when this came out.
I was at Richards working nights. Good times.
Yeah. So, on the subject of Toriyama stuff, I did find my copy of Sandland, so I'll be reading that very shortly.
That's getting a re-release pretty soon, I've heard. So I'll be picking up that one that comes out.
The volume?
Hmm.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, because the series is coming out next week. Or actually, at the time of this episode's release, it'll be 2 days.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving that a shot.
I'm pretty sure it's just the movie that was made last year, just cut up into episodes.
Okay.
Like the same deal as the Kaguya movie.
Okay. Well, I'll still check it out. So.
I mean, it's still, yeah, I mean, either way, it's movie quality, just split up into episodes, so it can't be that bad.
True. It's not really that it'll be bad. It'll just be, I think the flow will get messed up because of that. But
true, but at the same time, they, I guess Toriyama had come up with a like follow up, so
okay.
there's going to be like a part 2 to the series. Because it's just going to be like a 6-episode thing covering the events of the manga. And then I think later we're going to be getting a follow-up 6 episodes. So that'd be kind of cool.
Nah, definitely looking forward to that. Damn, this is going to be a pretty short one, but there's really not a whole lot more to add to that one. It is a fun little romp to go through, but like I said earlier, it's kind of a one and done.
Yeah.
The art, honestly, the art is the biggest highlight to it than like all the little mythology gags they threw in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
for sure.
As for the overall product, it's very much kind of a
very surface level.
Yeah, it's something. Basically, my recommendation is if you're a fan of Dragon Ball, definitely pick it up, or especially if you're a fan of Yamcha, because they do exist. The Yamcha fans out there, but otherwise, I probably wouldn't recommend if you're not a big Toriyama Dragon Ball guy, because it is very much attached to that overall.
Basically, if I was going to give it a rating, I'd say if it's your first time reading it, I'd give it a solid 8. If it's your second time reading it, it drops down a bit because there's nothing really it's so bare bones that it's not like you forget anything. You know, it's not like you're re-experiencing it. You're just kind of like reminding yourself, like, oh yeah, there's that.
I think on my Annie list, I gave it a 75
Mm-hmm.
overall. Like good score, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah. I mean, at
Um,
the end of the day, it pretty much just boils down to a fan comic.
Pretty much. It's a funny thing with some fun art. That'll give you enjoyment the first time around. Then it's not expensive at all. So
Yeah. It's just kind of sad that like Masako X's What Ifs go in way more depth than this does.
I mean, doesn't the Raditz series have like 30 something parts at this
Yeah,
point?
and it's extended beyond that too, because he made like an original series based around Raditz's kid.
Oh right. Yeah. Oh yeah, because he was the one that started the Raditz launch ship, which is now just a thing
Yep.
in the community.
Yep,
Um
he did do that. I've actually recently seen a picture of like it was Goku with Goten, Vegeta with Trunks, and Raditz with what the fuck is
Ranch. Ranch
Ranch?
was the name.
Yeah, Ranch. It's
Not,
I
not the
don't know.
most not the most creative name, but
No, but I don't know. Could have been worse.
true. That series is very fascinating to listen to like the first time around, but then you realize like I think I think he likes Raditz a little too much sometimes.
You know what's funny is he has like a on because I don't know if you know he has a podcast.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I don't think he's updated it in a while though. But he was doing like dramatic readings of his What If Frieza Turned Good story for a while on that.
Oh, gee.
That was interesting.
How many people has he done like what if they turn good like series or whatever?
I'm pretty sure he's done them for like everyone but a pool. Like
Yeah.
at this point, because he's done like all the major villains. I mean, Boo already turned good, so he's kind of a moot point.
I remember the Napa one. The Napa one was interesting.
Yeah, that was kind of silly. And then what were some of the other ones? I know we
Uh
did.
he he did what if Gine went to Earth with Goku? That was one.
It's like, what if the Saiyans believed Bardock? What if what was that? There's like, what if Cell turned good? What if Deborah turned good?
He's
Oh, some
basically
weird ones.
he's done all the big fan and what ifs basically.
Pretty much.
I think he spawned a lot of the Dragon Ball fandom in a lot of way.
Yeah, I think there was one that was like, what if Vegeta went to Earth instead of Goku or something?
Yeah,
Actually, that might have
that
actually
was
been a real one, like a real like fan manga. I'm not sure. Dragon Ball Sai, I think, wasn't that the concept behind that?
I don't remember, to be honest. I'd have to look into it.
See, I know of plenty of fan mangas. I've only read one or two of them. Um, Multiverse is the one I went real deep into. Um, and that one's really cool because it kind of has a lot of those what if ideas built into the structure of the story. Because the whole idea of that is obviously it's a big multiverse tournament, and like each of the universes involved is like if things played out differently, like this is the universe that spawned. Like there was one where Goku never hit his head and actually did wipe out the Earth and joined up with Raditz and Vegeta and them, and he's just a complete fucking psychopath.
That's like a very common fan idea is the evil Goku.
Yeah,
which is basically just Turles, but
mm-hmm. I think actually from the same. It might even be from the same. Or no, maybe it wasn't. I know there was another universe. I think where Demon King Piccolo won, but then Raditz showed up, and it was a huge problem. So he and Kami kind of just made like an agreement to remerge to deal with that. So like Piccolo and Kami did remerge, but it was King Piccolo and not Piccolo Jr.
Oh, so he was still evil. So Piccolo Jr. never actually got created in this universe.
Yeah. And there was one where like Vegito never unfused and then went on to impregnate Bulma, so Bra is actually like ridiculously powerful. Like Broly level powerful.
I was just gonna say poor Chi-Chi. She always gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah, well they kind of like they kind of brought attention to that because at that point it was like they discussed it and Chi-Chi was like, well, you know what? Goku's been dead for 7 years. I'm not just gonna take your husband from you. Like that would be unfair.
Yeah. Yeah, at least they thought of it. I was just gonna say, wow, no one likes Chi-Chi.
But no, they have a lot of fun concepts, and honestly, like the story itself is interesting. I need to catch up on it, honestly. One thing though is it's a lot bloodier than Dragon Ball usually is.
A lot of fan stuff is.
But it's definitely worth a read. The only weird thing though is it's made by I think a couple of English guys, so like UK guys. So it reads left to right, and that's kind of jarring when you're used to reading manga.
Yeah.
You see Dragon Ball characters and you want to turn it the other way, and it's just confusing a little bit. But
whenever I'm switching between manga and American comics, there's always like that couple second like moment where I have to like retrain my eyes which way to read. Yeah, though I guess that kind of does it for this episode. Like we said, not a whole lot to talk about on this one. We're gonna be continuing our Dragon Ball marathon next week with another topic. But yeah, so once again, guys, thanks for joining us on Geek Addicts. You can find Geek Addicts in all the major podcasting platforms within the gaming and collecting podcast feed. You can also find our episodes on YouTube with occasional video versions. So actually, this one's kind of full-time video now. So, hi guys. And yeah, if you'd like, you can find all of our links at linktree/thebarbecue games, or you could join us over at the GNC Podcast Network Discord server to find all things gaming and collecting, 3DO experience, Geek Addicts, talk gaming, anime, or just general nonsense. We're a bunch of nice people there, and Alex posts a lot of cringy, evil shit sometimes. And with that, guys, we will see you all later.
See ya.